Investing in the traditional markets, and by this I mean equities, commodities, bonds, etc., is commonplace, but to some a broad portfolio will include more esoteric investments that may be nowhere near some portfolio radars. Well, I'm talking now to Giles Cooper, Head of Marketing and Public Relations at BI, a wine and spirits merchant that operates wine investment business. Giles, welcome. First of all, what is your business model?
So BI is a traditional wine merchant founded by two guys who are from the city. The main driver behind the creation of BI was that there was not enough transparency in the fine wine investment market. There was no way to understand the true value of what investments you were making because there was no buying price. There was a selling price, as all merchants offered, but there was no buying price. So the key driver behind BI was the creation of Live Trade, which is the two-way trading screen which allows full liquidity and transparency in fine wine investing.
So how does the fine wine investment market work? If I came to you with a size of money and said, invest it for me, exactly what's the process?
Well, the first thing that we would do is be, obviously, to have a look at the size of the investment you want to make and then think about what kind of a portfolio you want, what kind of a return you want over what period of time. The Bordeaux market is still the key, is the cornerstone, if you like, of fine wine investment because nowhere else produces the volume at the quality. That means that there's enough of it to be regularly traded to give you a changing price and a genuinely movable price. Burgundy wines, for example, are made in a very, very small quality. The demand is enormous globally, but they can't increase production. So it's very difficult to trade it on a two-way screen. That said, if you were putting money into a portfolio, Burgundy might make a part of that. The real key, though, is to see these two-way prices and to be able to trade those two-way prices. So we would take your investment and say, let's do 60% Bordeaux, 20% Champagne, which is one of the really big exciting things, and then maybe a mixture of Burgundy, the Rhône, or Northern Italy.
How long do people generally invest for? What's the length of time?
You would be looking at a minimum 5 to 10 year investment.
Yeah, and what are the returns at the moment?
The returns vary. So the average over the last 30 years is about 10%, 10 to 12% a year. Last year was a very strong year, probably 20 to 22%. This year, price rise has actually been slightly smaller at about 4%, but we've actually had a higher turnover year in volume of buying and selling this year than we did last year. We're just happening to match more buyers with sellers this year.
And if I was to come in and invest, is there only one choice, or do you have a different choice of different sorts of price points or wines or regions?
Every portfolio we would put together would be bespoke, depending on exactly what you're looking for. The cases that we trade on the platform start at around £500–600 and go all the way up to £17,000 or £18,000 or even more. The wines of Petrus that we have on the screen might be £40,000 to £45,000 a case. So it really depends on how you want to spread your wine across that basket.
And what is a typical investment price point, if you like? I mean, what do people come to you with? Do you see people that have multi-thousands of pounds, or we're just talking a few £100s? You say the smallest case 500 or so. It
really depends. We do have a few people who are regular wine buyers, who are people who are collectors, wine lovers who are buying to drink, and every now and again they say, you know, I've got £1,000, I've got £1,500, I'm thinking about putting something to lie down. Most of the time we have serious collectors who've built up quite significant sellers who will then come to us and say, this is everything I've got. We'll say, this is the stuff that you should sell now. That might generate £150,000, which we will then put into an investment dedicated pot for them.
So you are fund managers and you give advice as well?
Absolutely. And unlike many other investment services, obviously the advice is free.
Right.
Because we don't charge any management fees. The money that we make is purely on the spread between the buying price and the selling price that you see on the screen.
So there's no margin. If I put in £1,000, you're not taking anything off that when the £1,000.
The margin that we make is the difference between the price that we buy at on the screen and the price that we sell at.
Right. Okay. Do you actually buy physical wine, or do you buy an interest in a certain barrel over?
No, the key to it, and really the key to Live Trade that makes it different to other broking platforms that you'll see, is that we are buying physical wine. So we as well, it's not a question of broking, we're finding a buyer here and we're finding a seller there. We're the principal dealer, so we're taking the positions on your wine. We will buy the wine, you sell it to us, we have it delivered to our warehouse, we inspect it. If it's fine, you get paid for it. So yeah, the stock that we're building up that you see on the offer side of the platform is our own stock.
So if I was a purchaser of the index, I could then say to you, well, I'd like to liquidate some of that in wine.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's your wine. If you're taking a position with us, you own those physical cases of wine. At any point you say, I want to divest, we deliver.
Okay. Where are the investments coming from geographically? As we over the years, I mean, I've followed a lot of sectors, and the spirit sector especially, and also luxury goods. We're seeing a lot of interest now from the Middle East, from China, from Asia generally. Whereabouts are the investors at the moment in wine?
It's a very good question. There are two pools of buyers here: investors and consumers. The Asia market is not really driven by investment in this way. In spirits, it's quite an interesting point you make. There is a certain amount of investment in, say, whiskies, rare whiskies, whiskey collections, but I still believe that most of that is going to Asia to be consumed, and that's the driver for the wine buyers in Asia, is that they are buying because they want the wines to have, to own, to store, to open the cases, to share with their friends and neighbours. The UK and European, and to a certain extent the US, there's an investment model which is quite different, which is to buy more than you need, hold it for a longer period of time until the value has risen, and then you might say keep 3, sell 3, and the profit you make you turn into more wine. So, and that model really works because some of those cases are being taken out of the market. The Asia market is consuming the wines, thus reducing the supply. The demand continues because the wine's carrying on getting better, and therefore you have an investment market.
And it's outside of the regulated market as we know it.
It's outside of regulated markets.
Just talk a little bit about our relationship with Europe. Of course, the UK, we know, does increasingly make wine, but of course a lot of the wine is in the continent, Germany, France, Italy and Spain and so forth. What's Brexit doing to your business? Have you seen any effect yet from the Brexit threat?
At the moment, I have to say, despite the fact that we were pretty cautious, and I think there was an element, a sort of a fairly strong remain lean within the business, and certainly within the wine industry, we've had an extremely positive effect from Brexit, from the collapse in currency. So effectively, the weakness of sterling against dollar-pegged currencies created almost overnight a discount market for Asia buyers. So on June 24th last year, we saw this sudden dramatic surge in purchasing from Asia, and that really has not let off. So I have to say this year will be our third biggest year ever.
2017.
2017 will be our third biggest year on record, and it will be between 15 and 20% up on last year's turnover, which was also a pretty decent year, and that's driven primarily by the fact that the weakness in currency has just driven the export markets very, very powerfully.
Yeah, so what are you hearing for 2018? As a marketing director, obviously you're preparing yourself. What about 2018? 2018,
I don't suspect that there will be many significant changes. I think that the currency doesn't have a long way. I don't perceive the currency coming back a long way. I think that the market in Asia will continue to grow. I think demand will continue to grow. I think we've got more and more exceptional wines becoming physical. So with the Bordeaux en Primeur market, people are buying the wines in barrel. They wait 2 years before they get delivered. In 2018, the 2015s, which were seriously brilliant wines, will start to be delivered. And when those wines are delivered and physical, the Asia market will become interested because they don't tend to buy non-physical stock. As soon as those wines are physical, you'll start to see those prices increase. So we're actually putting 2015s onto the trading platform within the next couple of weeks and starting to trade them before they're physical, to try and get ahead of that curve, because as soon as they do become physical, demand is going to be significant.
Interesting. Okay, look, Giles, I have to leave it there, but thanks indeed for joining us. Giles Cooper is Head of Marketing and Public Relations at BI, a wine and spirits merchant with a thriving trading business. Subscribe to IG for educational content, company insight, financial analysis and expert commentary. Or visit our website for daily market updates, trading ideas and strategies.